Hey guys, just want to clarify something from the lecture that I think hopefully will help with the homework. And so this has to do with spring. So suppose we have a spring hanging out here and its happy length is right there. So in class we talked about the equation. So for instance, if the spring is in the y direction, our equation would be negative k times delta y. And so for instance, if I call the happy length to happen to be at y equals to 0, if I was to hang a mass down so it pulled the spring a little bit further, okay, what happens here is the delta y would be negative. And so if I plug in the negative delta y, so we call it some value of negative y or something, then this would turn out to be a positive value. And so what that implies to us is that the force points upwards. Now this is good to know, and I think it's good for us to understand this negative sign a little bit because it implies that this is a restoring force. But I think in general, if we're doing problems, so let's say for instance that I have a spring and a mass and they're in equilibrium. Okay, so I know that the force of the spring is upwards and the gravity is downwards. I think it's probably better for us just to think about the force of the spring as being the absolute value, and that equals k times whatever our delta s is, where again, where that's the distance, the displacement from the happy point. And so if we were to do our F equals ma on this case here, so this is an equilibrium, so that implies this equals 0. If I added up my forces, I get Fs, Fs, sorry, let me try this over again. Erase it here, just to be clear. And so I'm adding up my forces in the y direction here. So it's going to be minus mg equals 0, which gives us f of s equals mg. Now I know f of s has to equal mg. I know it has to point in the positive direction because I know how it works here. So I could go through all this stuff here, but it's just easier once you figure out how it works just to be able to plug that in. And so here I would just simply plug in k delta s equals mg for this particular problem. So that's what I advise you to do when you're actually doing problems with this kind of thing.